Quid River.
Quiver will save us.
Quiver has not let me down since last year Worlds.
Since they were the first team to ever get knocked out in play-ins in NA history. Since that catastrophic loss to an LLA team, which then lost to a CB1 team.
Oh,
They haven't let us down.
Hello and welcome back to The Dive, driven by Kia, Season 9, Episode 32. We have a very special episode for you today. We're going to be going over the beginning of the LTA North versus South playoffs from last weekend. We're going to look forward to this weekend's upcoming games. And we've got some announcements. The All-Pro ballots are in, so we're going to count up those. And all four of us have a special announcement. We are going to announce the LTA North Kia Rookie of the Year. Azael, who could it possibly be?
I have absolutely no idea who it could be. We're going to have to open
Exciting.
it up. Let's find out. There's an envelope inside the envelope. All right. And the Kia Rookie of the Year is C9 Loki.
Whoa! Congratulations!
Thank you so much.
Here's
who
your
could have
trophy.
guessed?
Thank you so much.
How does it feel, man? This is obviously, I think a lot of people were thinking it was between you and maybe Sane or something. Are you surprised? Are you excited? How are you feeling?
Oh, I'm really happy to get award. It's my first award, and then I was kinda expect I'm gonna get Rookie of the Year because my team always helped me a lot, and then I wanna improve a lot myself always. Yeah.
Who has helped you to feel the most comfortable over here on Cloud9?
I think the report.
Is it Medios?
Could be anyone.
Reaper.
Could be Medios. Because report, because I was trying to do routine every day. I was drink orange juice every in the morning, and then I was trying to do meditation before start game. So report always told me routine is always good. So that's why I can overcome to get nervous and pressure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How do you reflect on your performance in your first year, right? I'm kind of curious, like, what were your expectations coming in first year, and do you feel like you met the expectations that you had for yourself, or do you wish you could have done something different, anything like that?
I also expect when I start like split 1, I got pressure a lot from lose and some stuff. But like after split 2 and split 3, I'm kind of overcome to get nervous and pressure. That's why my performing is pretty rare. In scrim, we are kind of really insane. So yeah, I was expected.
What is your favorite memory from this split, from your rookie split?
I think the DSG at game 5 playing Jerry because
You 1v9.
at the time Talia was open and my Talia is kind of insane.
Yeah.
Win late, but like I want to play Jerry, and in scrim my Jerry was really insane every game. So I want to play Jerry and carry game. It was my favorite.
Yeah.
memory.
Oh, you definitely carried that one. Yeah, I remember Vulcan was talking about it. You were really confident in your Sari and wanted to play it. That's super cool.
Yeah, I mean, that was awesome because you talked about being nervous, but that was, really high stake match, game 5, and you completely 1v9. Your team was kind of feeding a little bit, but you
That makes it feel better.
Yeah, you went top lane, got a double kill, and just got like 15 kills or some crazy amount that game. So yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, awesome.
How do you feel about, going into next year? What would your goal for yourself be? Having gone through your first year, you win Kia Rookie of the Year. What goal would you want to set for Loki for next year?
When I play against 100 Thieves, I feel like I got pressure a lot from gank and die. So I'm not gonna care next year. I'm gonna play more aggressive in lane pass and then get prio, and then just doing well and then overcome to get nervous and pressure. I think that's it.
That's cool. Which of your opponents this year do you think you've learned the most from?
I think the FlyQuest. FlyQuest is one of the best team in the LTA, so I learned from them a lot. And I think that HK Genji team also, they're so strong. And then I always watch Trophy Preview.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything you'd like to say to your fans, to your family, to your teammates, anything like that?
I got Rookie of the Year, my mom. Thank you for supporting me. And then my team also, we did it pretty well in Scream. On stage, we were kind of passive and we didn't make World and MSI. It was so close. But next year, if we play one more, I don't know, we're going to make World and MSI, pretty sure.
All right. Well, congratulations once again. Really great Rookie of the Year.
The Kia Rookie of the Year, Loki. Congratulations.
Thank you so
We are
much.
going to be right back after these messages.
Ready, set, go!
I'm at 47%.
Oh, I'm on 63%.
Man,
I'm at 50%.
boom! 80% winner!
The Kia EV9 can go from 10% charge to 80% charge in just 24 minutes with DC fast charging.
Welcome back to the dive driven by Kia. It is time to talk about the Kia All Pro Awards. We've been excited for them. Of course, we can talk a little bit more about Rookie of the Year first if we want. Loki was the winner. Were you guys surprised at all that he won?
No.
I felt like that one was pretty locked.
100%.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I mean, I think you could definitely make an argument for Saint, and I
Yep.
know that he got a decent amount of votes because I thought, like, if Loki wasn't in the league, I think Saint also like did really well for his first year. But I don't know. I mean, I think a lot of rookies doing successfully is like, you know, coming into good teams. I think C9's always been a really, really good environment for rookies to come in and grow. And yeah, I mean, I've, you know, talked with Loki and seen him interact in the team, and he's just like a really adaptable guy. You know, he listens to everything that's told to him, absorbs a lot. So I'm not really surprised.
Yeah. The only person out of all voters who did not vote Saint or Loki for first was Inspired, I believe, who voted Darkwings. Which is pretty surprising, I think, to put them.
Well, FlyQuest
It's a little
and
bit of
Cloud9
C9
definitely have a
beef.
beef going on. And Inspired was like the first one to talk about the Scrim beef or whatever,
Yeah.
I think. And I forget who did that interview, but yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what
Might be
came
a
off
little
to me.
something there.
Might be a little something there. But I will say I was a bit surprised to see Darkwings so dominantly get third. I think he came in and did well. But I thought
I
that,
voted for him. I thought I did really
no, I mean,
well.
I'm not saying he did poorly or anything like that, but I guess I just kind of in my mind was assuming that Surdy with his turnaround might capture more votes because Darkwings was only there for a bit of time, but did do very well during that time and definitely helped the DSG to improve a lot. So he is deserving of third team Rookie of the Year or whatever you want to call that.
Third team.
Third team Rookie of the Year, third player Rookie of the Year. But yeah, I guess I just thought that Surdy would have got more votes in that slot.
Yeah, I actually kind of like the shout-outs for Darkwings because, like I mentioned with Loki, it's like I think a lot of the times rookies that come into successful orgs do the best, but Darkwings is like the exact opposite of that. He came into a last place team that was
Had never
looking
won a series,
incredibly uncompetitive and borderline dysfunctional. They were just losing everything. And he somehow managed to look pretty good, and their team got a lot better.
Yeah.
Him coming into and he replaced somebody, you know, Abadage, who is a much more experienced player, someone that, you know, I think had a voice in leadership for the team. So yeah, I think he came into a really, really tough position. And so the fact that he didn't fall flat on his face and actually looked pretty good, you know, almost beat C9 in the playoffs is like, yeah, I think he deserves a lot of credit for that.
Yeah, 100%. And he's had the confidence to use some off-meta champions and, you know, do some counterpick stuff. I really like the Anivia game and that type of stuff. So that's why I thought I went for him. I think also, you know, whether it's Surdy's fault or not, a lot of his rookie year was on Dignitas, and that's part of your rookie year, bro. So unfortunate.
Just the way you put that, whether it's his fault or not, he was on Dignitas. I mean, someone didn't sign that contract for him. He signed that contract. That's his fault. So yeah, he'll have to live with that. But we can now move on to the Kia All-Pro first team. Would one of you fine gentlemen like to do the honors?
Yes.
Sure, I'll do the honors.
I'll let you do second team then, Kobe.
Is there going to be an envelope inside?
Well, that's the question, isn't it?
I think there might be. Nope. Okay.
Yeah, it's because this first envelope sucks.
Okay.
That's a real envelope.
This is the real envelope. And here we go. First Kia All-Pro first team is Bwipo, Inspired, Quid, Masu, and Busio. So 4 FlyQuest members and Quid.
I was gonna say that team sounds very
This
familiar.
is like one letter off of all of FlyQuest.
That's what I was gonna say. They just spelled it wrong.
So the interesting thing is how close Quid was to not winning it. The mid lane matchup actually came down to the fan vote deciding it.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. So, I mean, congrats to him. I do think that Quad was not as impressive as he was last year, so I'm actually glad that we didn't get like a full 5 FlyQuest, because generally in the history of the LCS, that almost never happens. I know that it happens a lot in some of the other leagues, like LCK, people always talk about it, but LEC, it's happened a lot more frequently as well. Last split, we did have that with the full 5 FlyQuest, but I do think that's very, very rare. I do think that it's pretty deserving that there's a ton of FlyQuest though. They're clearly by far the best team in the regular season, and the best of 5 stage as well, the elimination phase. So I'm not like super surprised by that, but I did feel like mid lane was probably the most contested, especially because C9 kind of had their fall off. If C9 had done better in the best of 5s, I think Thanatos maybe could have won first team over Bwipo, because I felt like Bwipo I didn't think was as dominant as last split individually. So I felt like those were the two that were kind of like the most open for debate. But definitely,
I actually had a bit of trouble with AD carry this year too, as a whole position.
Yeah, I agree with that actually.
Not just first team, but
there's a lot of good ADCs now.
Yeah, the AD carry one took me a long time this time around, and then even at the end, I was like, I could probably still switch these ones around. But the mid lane one, I felt pretty confident putting Quid in there, so I'm glad that Quid did end up winning it. He has been exceptional. So
you want to do second team, and we can just talk through all the teams and kind of like where we were surprised about people going and all that.
Sounds good. Here we go. The prestigious second team,
Kia
All-Pro. I saw one of the names, Medios.
Can't do that.
Guess
Can't
what?
cheat.
The name that I saw is going to make you happy. It's got Cloud9 Vulcan. I'm going from the bottom up. Team Liquid Yawn, FlyQuest Quad, 100 Thieves River, and Cloud9 Thanatos.
I actually think that's pretty hype, because I do feel like past FlyQuest, it was really kind of more of a jumble. And so I'm happy that it isn't just like all one team next and then all another, because this feels fair that there was representation from a lot of different teams, because we did have kind of like a really close, upper middle of the pack or whatever you want to call it in this split.
Yeah, and I felt like River has got to get it for sure. And Thanatos, even though at the end Cloud9 really fumbled, I felt really strongly about that one too.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of these I felt pretty strongly. Again, the AD carries I was switching around a lot. I'm not sure if I ended up with Jan there or not, but
I can find your thing.
They definitely did. They definitely struggled a lot as well. So I think I dropped him down and might have put him off, because I felt like towards the end, like FBI really, really stepped up for 100 Thieves, and so I felt like he was doing really good. And B-Voy just had some games where he just won the entire game for them. So I think I had Masu, FBI, and B-Voy maybe.
Looks like you did Masu, and then you did FBI, and then I'm struggling to see the last one, to be honest. This is like moving around very weirdly, and it's tiny text.
I think it was B-Voy, and I think that his like Lucian game where he like won the whole game for his team, and he's had a lot of really good ones as well.
Yeah, that's cool.
What about you guys for AD carries especially? I'm very curious for the AD carry.
I feel like, like you said, AD carry is really hard, because this has also been a really weird split, just because the teams have kind of changed around how strong they are. And it's like, you have to decide, like, are you judging them kind of as a player in their entirety, or a snapshot of how they are right now, because 100 Thieves obviously had a much better ending to the season than they started.
Yeah.
Whereas like I think C9 and TL were kind of opposite. Like they started really good and then they kind of fell off. So yeah, it's tough to say. I feel like, you know, you can make an argument for like any of those 5 between like Masu, FBI, Sven, Bivoy, Jan.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I did Masu, Jan, FBI. So just the B-Boy and FBI swap. But I felt bad about not having Sven in there. But I also felt like Sven was really struggling in a lot of his quirky games and like a lot of his early games, even if he had like pretty strong team fighting later, were not as strong. I mean, All-Pro in general was a bit weird for me voting this time because we never do playoffs. And even though our best of 5s for the, you know, LTA North Conference playoffs, I guess, is technically part of the regular season, so that was part of the awards. Really, it's playoffs, let's be honest, right? It's a best of 5 elimination phase. So it's like, that feels like playoffs, and that had never been included before. So it was definitely a very different feeling because you had really different amount of games even being played, right? Like from a team that gets knocked out instantly versus a team that goes all the way. Like you're just playing way more games.
And the level of importance of those games was really different. So that's why to me, it also felt weird. And I took an approach of like, well, sometimes you want to like, adjust for recency bias. But I kind of leaned into recency bias because the later games were more important.
And that was also most of our split.
Yeah, so
we didn't really have that many games prior to the elimination phase, right? Like most of the team's games, if you did a big playoff run, go look at 100 Thieves. Almost all their games were in best of 5s, right? But that was part of the awards this time, so it is very different. I'm going to read the 3rd team Kia All Pro here, and then we can talk about the rest of these awards. But I think 3rd team is probably going to be pretty interesting, like 2nd team would be as well. Here we have it. Since you guys went top to bottom, I'm going to go middle out. We're going to go mid lane is C9's Loki. AD carry is Shopify's B-Boy. Shopify's Contracts wins. Shopify's Fudge wins. Woo! And then Ayla from 100 Thieves. Ayla is a bit surprising to me. And a lot of Shopify members on there. So did everyone on Shopify get... No, their support didn't get it, right? So
Palafox.
So Palafox didn't get it, and
Seos
didn't get it either. But 3 Shopify members in there, so good for them. I know that's a team like the Energy team in the past and so on that always kind of felt like they had been overlooked for All Pro. So cool to see a lot of Shopify members making their appearance. Ayla is one that surprises me a bit, but I did feel like bot lane in general, you know, not even just AD carry, was fairly difficult. I felt like to me, Core and Busio were pretty guaranteed. I thought Busio was by far the best. I think Busio, it's interesting because we're doing this year.
Core didn't even make it.
Yeah, and you're right. Wow, that's actually crazy. Yeah, in my mind, he was kind of a lock.
Yeah.
That's
not.
That's interesting.
TL really struggled, so
I felt like it was like that's the whole story, was it's their bot lane versus the world.
Yeah, but then they couldn't get over the line and still couldn't win the games, I guess. A lot of people kind of deduct points again because of the way it's set up.
Yeah,
if you get eliminated early, then it's really going to hurt you, I feel like.
And their bot lane didn't do as well in the best of 5s, to be fair. You know, like they weren't as crazy as kind of people I think were maybe expecting. But it is really interesting. I mean, overall, we have like a pretty good mix, right? So all 5 FlyQuest members did make it at the end of the day. 100 Thieves had 3 members. C9 had 3 members. TL just had Jan. And then Shopify.
I think that's correct in telling of the story of
Shopify had 3 members.
Yeah.
So
wait, did Liquid really go 3-10 in this?
Well, they got pounded in playoffs. Yeah. They went 0-6 and out in playoffs.
Yeah,
that's crazy. Like, if you asked me before I just looked it up, I would not have been able to tell you Liquid went 3-10.
Yeah, I mean
that is a very, very low record.
Yeah.
And just not the kind of record I associate with Team Liquid. But I mean, they did kind of just bomb out in playoffs.
Yeah. I mean, they got absolutely blasted in playoffs. And to be fair, it's like, you know, your first round upper bracket is going to be a lot harder, right? So it is always weird because it's like you have to also take into consideration strength of opponents. They played against FlyQuest in the upper bracket, got 3-0'd, and then they played against 100 Thieves, right? So they played against what turned out to be the two strongest teams in the North. Didn't take a game off either of them. Not saying that's not surprising. It is still surprising for their standards, absolutely. But it's like they ended on, they lost to Lion, and then they went 0-2 against Cloud9, 0-3 against FlyQuest, and then 0-3 against against 100 Thieves. So obviously a rough end of the split. But it's cool to see the diversity. But it is surprising to see only one TL member across the first 3 All-Pro teams. Just like when you think about TL historically, they're always one of those teams that has a lot of representation. And I wonder if this is the first time that Core hasn't made All-Pro. Because even some of the splits in the past where I actually thought he was playing way worse than he was this split, he still made it. And I felt like he had made it a few times in the past where he was like really slumping, kind of off of name power, where people were just like, yeah, Core JJ should be in there. So I'm very surprised. And it's cool that Ayla for him did make it because I don't know. I wonder if this is the first All-Pro for Ayla. I would think it would be.
Yeah, I would expect it to be because I think there's a lot of names. Like Core obviously is a big one that's surprising not seeing All-Pro, but
Impact.
Yeah, I mean Impact also someone Blabber. I think this might be the first time in his career that he wasn't on an All-Pro. Like he's normally number 1 or number 2.
Yeah.
But obviously they also were a team who didn't meet expectations.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm not too surprised because again, I was like leaning into recency bias of a lot of the recent games too. So I
just mean historically, right? It's like surprising. Like within the context of a split, it's not surprising to see. Like I watched Impact play.
It's surprising that they underperformed to not be
exactly.
here.
Yeah. That's more at least how I'm thinking about it because it's just like coming into the split. You almost always expect Core, Impact, Blabber, these types of players to make All-Pro. Sven as well, I think, has been a mainstay on All-Pro throughout his time. So, I mean, it really does showcase that it is a pretty interesting split. Like it really was. FlyQuest kind of head and shoulders above the rest. I mean, of course, that still remains to be seen in the LTA playoffs because 100 Thieves could theoretically, beat them or one of the South teams could beat them. But, thus far, they've looked like by far the best team.
Yeah, there were some interesting stories. I think one of the other main interesting stories, of course, was 100 Thieves being very bad at the beginning, but then going Super Saiyan in playoffs and coming together around Dokla. That was another thing that I considered pretty heavily, actually. I wanted to know if you guys considered giving Dokla any of the positions a little vote there, because he did play well individually and did help turn around this team. In the end, I went with I didn't commit to it, and went with like Fudge with Thanatos and Bwipo, but. I did give pretty heavy consideration, considering the kind of turnaround and the impact that he had on 100 Thieves.
Yeah, I mean, I thought about it, but to be honest, I didn't think about it for very long, simply because I felt like, to me, Fudge was probably the best overall player on Shopify. I felt like this split, so I felt like Fudge was really, really good, and I didn't see any world in which you can even consider taking out Thanatos and Bwipo. So to me, it was not really like a condemnation of how he played. It was more just like, hey, some other people
can't fit him in
this split, and I felt like those players were more deserving. He did. I'm looking through it. He did get some votes. I mean, I'm even seeing him on second team All Pro for some people. So. That is like he definitely was getting some consideration, and I think deservedly so, right? He really did help to turn it around, but I felt like it's also one of those things where you can't really vote for like some of the intangibles and whatnot, right? And I felt like the turnaround from 100 Thieves seemed to be more about what he brought to the environment and more about what he brought to like shot calling and all these things that we can't really see. Like I see voting for All Pro for top lane off of like individual performance, and I thought he had some good games, but he also had some stinkers. So like I didn't think that he was deserving over those other guys.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. It kind of reminds me of like everyone's conversation about like, Chovy versus Faker for like, usually Chovy is seen as like the best mid laner, but Faker is seen as like, the best player just because of what he brings to a team. And I don't know if Dokla is quite on their level. Not many people are.
Close,
I'm not saying he's
Dokla
not.
is Faker.
Yeah, I mean, he could
top
be
lane Faker.
He could be the top lane Faker because obviously when you're looking at a player's value and what they bring to a team, it's like, it's looking real good for him to come into a team that looked so unbelievably weak and then turn it around for them to finish second. And granted, it's not like he was hard carrying every single game, but he definitely brought a lot to the team. He also was like filling the role of like, kind of impact style champions, picking a lot of Rumble, a lot of tanks, a lot of like team fighting champions, and playing for the team a lot, which it's not always how Doko's played. I know he got his start playing stuff like Jason Fiora, so it's kind of shows like a character progression arc going from like the top lane I want to carry to being more of a coach and getting like this like top down view of the game, and then coming back and be like, okay, I'm just going to think, how do I fit into the team? What value can I provide to the team? And so it's been awesome to see. I mean, I like seeing him do well.
I always thought of him as kind of like one of those guys that did the funny picks too when he came in on Optic. And like anytime I always see him, I'm always like, oh, we're getting the Yorick today, because like I remember him being one of the only people to actually play Yorick when he was back on Optic. He actually played it in LCS a couple times, which was like, I just thought that was fun to see.
I was there.
Yeah, I just thought that was fun to see. I don't know how you felt about the Yorick, but I always think it's a fun champion. So I thought that was cool. And yeah, I mean, he's done a really, really good job. He's been able to perform on a lot of these different champions, but obviously did kind of get outperformed at the end of the day by some of these other players, in my opinion. What did you guys vote for supports then? Did you guys have Core in there or not? Because support ended up being Busio, Vulcan, Ayla. For me, I did think Core was going to be locked in there for sure, and I thought it was getting more conversation around third or whatever. But yeah, it was interesting to see that Core didn't make it.
It's tough to say. I feel like any of those five could have made it. Like I thought Seos probably over Ayla, honestly, because I think he looked really good on Shopify. I think he had, a lot of really good games. He had a lot of good engages. I thought the way he moved around the map with contracts was super good, and a lot of their wins, I felt like it would just be Seos and contracts kind of like running the map together. So I think Ayla did well, but he didn't stand out as much for me as I thought Seos did. And then I think with Core, it's just hard because Liquid was losing every single game. So he also didn't play as many range supports. He was more on the melee side of things. So I think in a lot of Liquid's games, like in the FlyQuest series, FlyQuest was just drafting like really bad lane matchups for TL's bot lane, and then they were also swapping a lot. So it just, whether it was just a situation or anything else, didn't seem like Core was able to like get a whole lot done.
As far as the Ayla one, I felt really strongly like super secure in voting him. I still voted for him, but after the top lane
incident,
after the Karma incident, and then whatever the second, there was another game afterwards. He had a less extreme incident, but one more. But I feel like he still overall had a really good year, and made some big improvements. I was also considering him for when we did the most improved award as well. Thought he had some impressive games for the team.
Yeah, I mean, I think Ayla's good for sure. I think I was a little bit more impressed by Seos.
Seos came in, and I felt like he worked especially well with contracts and was like really aggressive in creating a lot of plays.
Yeah, he did get. I do see him on some of these ballots, so he definitely was getting.
He got some
votes.
He got
but it's quite a mix of people here. On third team. Like when I'm looking through the third team votes, it's like Seos, Core, Vulcan, Ayla, Core, Seos, Ayla, Ayla, Core, Seos, Ayla, Ayla, Seos, Ayla, Core, Vulcan, Ayla. It's like back and forth between a lot of them. So I can imagine that the voting overall was relatively close. We have the points right here. Let's see how close support actually was. So support was quite close. Third team. Busio by a mile, not surprising. He got 30 out of a possible 33 first place votes. Vulcan was second with 42 points. Busio had 92, and then Ayla had 27, and Seos had 19, and then Core was below him at 16. AD carry, you were talking about how it was difficult to vote for. I completely agree. Masu got 81 points, Jan got 43, and then B-Boy was at 25 with both FBI and Sven at 18 points, and then Rahel had 11 points as well, so that was pretty close, kind of past that. Mid lane was not close at all. Fourth was Saint with 8 points behind Loki, who had 59, And then Quad had 62 and Quid had 64. So it was really those three and then no one else. Jungle was actually super close to touch on Blabber. So first place was Inspired, 93 points, almost all first place votes, no surprise. River had 49 points, then Contracts had 29, and Blabber missed out by only 2 points. So he had 27. Top lane, Dokla was in fourth. He had 17 points, and then Fudge had 29. So that was pretty close. Buppo was ahead by quite a bit in first, though. He had 87 over 59 for Thanatos. And then, yeah, I guess that's all the rolls. So a lot of close ones. The Blabber one being the closest, I guess, only 2 points out of making All Pro. So was very competitive amongst second and third team for sure.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, it's definitely more fun for All Pro when it's like, there's a lot of arguments that can be made for players.
Yeah.
And I think it does feel kind of bad for players who miss it, but I mean, it's just the nature of it, right? There's only 3 teams, and not everybody can make it. But yeah, I like that it's close and there's arguments that can be made for different people.
Yeah. All right, let's get into our LTA playoffs. The first week of North versus South just went down. And
how about that Saturday? Great Saturday.
We're gonna start with the Saturday.
Good Saturday. Loved that day.
100 Thieves versus Pain was the opener. When we were talking about the upcoming series, this was the one that we felt most secure about.
Yeah.
We did side with the North, of course, for both series, but this one we felt most secure about, as makes a lot of sense. This was North 2 versus South 3, and with the way that 100 Thieves have been looking recently, they were peaking, they were on the rise. Pain was the opposite trajectory, and a lot of the South players, when they came up here too, were talking about it. A lot of the South players were also like, yeah, we also don't even have any faith in Pain. Even the South players that were like, yeah, our other teams are gonna win. Even they were like, nah, never mind, not Pain though.
You know what's really funny though is because I had heard that echoed from all the LTA South teams and players and everything. But when I talked to some North teams, I'm not going to reveal who had scrimmed the teams, they said they thought Pain was by far the strongest team out of all three. So they were telling me that they think Pain is like Cloud9, where they're like really, really good in scrims, but maybe too nervous to play on stage or something. Because they were saying they had played against Vivo Keyd as well as Red, and they thought Pain was the one that was really strongest. So I thought that was interesting hearing that before that series. But yeah, Pain ended up getting 3-0'd. I will say, if you're just like box score watching and you see that it's a 3-0, you're like, oh, it wasn't even close. They definitely could have lost some of these games.
Oh, especially game 2.
Game two
should have been a loss by most standards.
Teton really entered that final team fight.
Oh yeah, that was wild. He definitely kind of. I think he plays for the fan service. He sees himself as an aggressive player, and he's going to do that no matter what, even if it's not the right play. Because, in that last team fight as Corky, he just valked into the middle of the enemy team and just died. Got his GA popped and then died. And he didn't need to do that. They probably would have won if he didn't do that. So I can respect it. I can respect getting hype and going in. But I mean, if you do it excessively and throw games, then it's not great.
Yeah, that game was actually really impressive from Pain. Even though Weiser didn't end up with any kills, he had a lot of these good in the mid and late game Ambessa ults that won them a bunch of team fights, getting onto FBI or getting onto Quid. And it got Pain into this position where, I also felt like this is Pain's game. I was like, oh no, 100 Thieves, we're going to drop a game. This one is gone. And then they just clutch out that team fight. And where Teton, he had a GA as well. And, he vouched for it. But Quid is able to survive. I think Ayla McHale's Quid on the engage. And Quid was able to wrap around the other side, kind of avoid the Corky damage, then come back in for the burst, and then 100 Thieves run it all the way into the Nexus. And that was definitely one of those games where you are just release all the tension afterwards. You're like, oh my goodness, they got away with murder.
It should have been a tied series, right? And then all of a sudden you're on match point. And I felt like after that I was like, okay, it's probably over, right? That's a pretty big mental boom one. I mean, they were up just under 6K before that final team fight. and they were on Soul Point too, if I recall correctly. And I felt like when I saw Titan playing how he was in that fight, I felt like his thought process was probably like, oh, like we have double GA. We can kind of just like fly in and like trade out my GA to kill off their carry or whatever. Like, I think that's like what he was thinking. But obviously it didn't work out that way. But even with that, it was still very slim margins because I remember Dokla, his ult being about to expire on Aatrox, and they barely got a kill, and then it resets, and then the resets just like he just went infinite, right? It just became one of those Aatrox highlight fights where you just are running out of damage as people die, and he keeps just resetting, and all of a sudden you can't hurt him anymore, right? Like he's just healing for more than you're doing. But that was a pretty crazy comeback. Game 1 was an absolute stomp. Game 2 was what should have been a pain win, where I thought that, you know, it's like for as much as people were really critical of Titan for, you know, the end of it, he did play really well leading up to that and got in a good spot. You know, Curry was moving around the map well, you know, finding some really good picks. You know, like you said, Weiser, I remember that play mid lane where he comes out of a side brush, and I think maybe Curry came out one side brush, he comes out of the other, and like Roamer flash stuns Quid, and they have the best all this, and just kind of like burst him down. They played that game really well for the most part, even though I remember the level 1, I think it was that game where River got the invade and like stole away the camps and stuff. Like he was being super annoying on Jarvan, right? And like pushing out Karioka. So it was a pretty impressive game from Pain. But at the end of the day, you lose one like that, and that's one of those ones that you kind of like have to win to be, I feel like, competitive in a series.
Yeah, when I was watching those games, it kind of was it went the way that I remember a lot of the first stand games went, where it seemed like in laning phase in early game skirmishes, the South teams like put up a pretty good fight. You know, like they can win lane, they can like get early kills, but somewhere along the line, whether it's like their map play or like vision control, like something is just a little off, and then they just start throwing games. And that's for sure what this game looked like with Pain versus 100 Thieves. I mean, kind of the whole series, where like something about the way they played mid game felt like they overgrouped too much, or they would just like see a fight happening and just everybody sprints to it, and they would just drop waves, drop towers all over the place. And then just eventually, you know, if you make one mistake, everything just kind of falls apart. So I think that was kind of like my expectation coming into it, was kind of how this looked. And yeah, maybe it was just Pain specifically that just like, you know, like they were saying, wasn't one of their stronger teams.
And you guys talking about the third game, that was the River Kiana game as well, which is a champion where I remember when we had the patch and they buffed the Kiana, and I was like, okay, well, this is going to be an absolute terror, at least for solo queue. I've been kind of disappointed that our players haven't put more time in on the champion and hadn't been picking it, because it has been getting picked a bunch in the LPO. Like Kanavi and Tien especially, and people are like looking really good on it, and gets picked in LCK and stuff. So I was glad to see River pull it out, and it looked like he needed a little time to get warmed up on it, but then he had some mega ultimates as well. And
the Baron fight, the 4v5 was crazy.
That one was beautiful to see. I was the very strict, disappointed dad. Oh, he didn't also steal the Baron, but you know what? It's fine. They killed everyone. We'll take it. Good job. They get the win. And he, that was his first Kiana game. So.
That was the one where he got sniped by Redemption when he was running away in the red.
Yeah.
That was actually so crazy, because I remember watching it, and he was messing around pretty heavily in the bottom jungle, like just staying when he didn't need to. And then when he was getting away, like he jumped over the dragon wall at 1 HP. And then I think everyone who plays enough League has that kind of like, when you see someone at 1 HP, your eyes just like start scanning all the champions to be like, okay, what's the global you have to watch out for? Is it like, you know, an Ezreal ult, Draven ult, whatever? And I'm like, okay, no globals. And there's one more. The Redemption just comes in, and I don't think River was thinking about it either, because like he could have reacted, but
he
paused.
wasn't
thinking about it. Yeah.
You know what we realized though? So when I was watching that, I was thinking, oh wow, like he stopped for a second. He maybe could have got out. But so the spectator shows Redemption as though it is an allied Redemption always. So it shows it earlier than they see it, because an enemy Redemption shows up later on your screen than an allied Redemption. And that's not something that I really had thought about during the cast. But I know Jat and Raz were looking into that and testing. And so the enemy Redemption does show up later. So the like little pause that we see him make, that I was like, ooh, maybe he could have got out, he may not have even seen the redemption on his screen yet at that time.
Yep.
So I think that could have been the case there. But it's one of those things where it's like sometimes the spectator client kind of tricks you a bit because it's like we see the redemption, we assume he sees the redemption, but when it's an enemy one in game, he actually sees it later than what it's showing us. So it's a bit confusing.
So it's actually the same thing with Volibear E that comes down. You see it earlier than than enemies see it also. Is this
probably like
thing?
Echo W and stuff too, probably.
But back to the actual play. Personally, if I'm that low health, I never just pause in the middle of the river. I'm like,
me personally, I would never die there. Back to that play.
I need to get the hell out of there. I'm that low. I am running super far for safety. But it was so funny because he got to just the edge of it with his with the dash at the very end too, and I was like, oh.
Well,
barely.
he probably just wasn't expecting it because it is getting a lot more popular now, and I saw in the upcoming patch, Redemption's actually getting nerfed. But this is something that started, I think, kind of in the LCK, where every support is just rushing Redemption right now.
Spam it.
And so, maybe he was thinking the same thing I was initially, where it's like, okay, no globals, I'm good. And then
Jinx, no Ezreal.
the orbital laser comes down on your head and took him out. But I think overall, this game was super cool. I like Dokla pulling out the set. Set, even though he got nerfed a little while back, is still a champion that I personally feel might be underrepresented in pro play just because, like, his team fighting is so insane, even if he's not ahead. Like, I think he has the opportunity to win his lane extremely hard. Like, he's kind of obnoxious in lane. But even if you don't, like, once you get to, like, 2 items, I mean, you spike, every item you get spikes you super hard, right? It's like Stride Breaker allows you to, like, make plays. Overlord's Bloodmail is just crazy stats on him. Everything, basically. And then each fight you have Flash, you have the opportunity to kind of, like, have a game-winning team fight.
Yeah.
So I don't think it was, like, the cleanest set game ever from Dokla.
He had a lot of team fights where he wasn't doing anything.
Yeah, I mean, that happens. But, I mean, you just need one good one. And I think he had some pretty good fights. Like, there was a good Otacon fight. I think the 4v5 at Baron was pretty good. Even though Weiser... I thought Weiser was pretty clever with it. He was, like, trying to space out... Because, like, both teams know what Set's trying to do. Yeah, he was, like, you know, trying to get Set to ult him. And he tried using the Gwen E to, like, redirect it. But he didn't quite get it far enough away from his team. But I messaged Dokla after the game, and he was like, yeah, like, I don't think pro players know how to play against Set properly. Because he is definitely a champ that if you understand how to play against him, he's going to get a lot less value. That's kind of how I always felt when I played Zach in pro play. I'd be like, yeah, you know, if people know how to play against Zach, I don't know if he's even that good, but people just don't seem to know how to play against him. Because with Set, like, he said that Nautilus just kept hooking him and giving him an ulti into the entire team. Yeah. So it is something that if you're thinking about, you can avoid, but a lot of times people will just forget, or, you know, I think when Set has Flash, there's
Flash is terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many ways you can do it. You can, like, ulti and then, like, flash EW to confirm it if you get the stun. You can just, you know, do a regular W flash with full grit, and that'll like one-shot somebody. So I think the champion has a place for sure.
I agree.
And I don't think he's been getting picked as much as maybe he could.
I mean, the Baron fight, he almost one-tapped Roamer with his W. And then, I mean, the game-ending fight, they were already probably going to win at that point. But he R'd Curry on top of Titan. But Titan had the Edge of Night shield. So the R did no damage. He R's him in, and it just, like, pops the shield. And then he just W and auto and killed him from 100% HP with W and 1 auto.
The champion does a lot of damage.
It was like 2,300 or something like that, true damage with the W.
Yeah.
And then 1 auto, and he's dead from full. And it's just like, so, yeah, definitely it can do a lot of damage. Was a 3-0 at the end of the day, but not as clean, I think, as people were maybe expecting or hoping for from 100 Thieves. The next day, though, was honestly, it was a really fun series. It was a banger series, but Shopify did lose in a 5-game one. The mid gap was just monstrous. Like, Kaze played like a beast. He absolutely trounced Palafox. But FMB, I talked about him last week when we were previewing this series. That guy really impressed me in the South playoffs, and he really impressed me here as well. I didn't feel like Fudge was playing really bad or anything, but I felt like FMB definitely got the better of him. And their solo laners, man, just played super well. I felt like the Shopify bot lane held up, but definitely this was the North team I was the most nervous about, just because they are so up and down, and this is a team that could lose to Dignitas or Disguised on any day. And I do not think that they played their best. And yeah, mid gap was monstrous.
Yeah, mid gap was crazy. You're talking about FMB, the Yorick game. That top gap was also crazy.
He was 1v2 anybody.
That Yorick, he was 1v3ing in some situations and like getting multiple kills back and stuff. And yeah, he got to the point like pretty quickly where I was like, well, what do you do to deal with that? And those are the dream games for when people are like, oh, they need to have split pushing as like a win con in this game. And like when you get to a Yorick where you can like 1v2 comfortably and then like even get multiple, counter kills if it's like 1v3s and stuff like that. It's like, holy moly, like what do you even do as the opponent team? But if we go back to like the progression of this series, game number 1, I remember the play where this game actually started out, pretty close, and kind of going back for like 20 minutes. It was quite close between them. But I remember this play where, the entire team comp for Shopify is they had early drafted Aurora and Yone. And they also got Pantheon super early on. So I was like, okay, well, they're definitely going to do a lot of split pushing.
We got a blind pick blue side.
They're going to do a lot of split
that's
pushing.
actually insane.
And they have a lot of dive options. And so they got to the point, post 20, 25 minutes or whatever, where they were doing the split pushing. And they had Pal Fox on bottom side on Yone. And I was like, okay, cool. Like they're enacting their plan. But then they actually send for red. They sent Doom, the jungler, who's Trundle, who has just Pillar as CC, and Rumble, who had no teleport, down to the bottom lane to try and pick off Pal Fox. And I was like, what in the heck? Like, that just seems like a crazy call when Baron is up to send your jungler and your TP-less top laner, who have a combined single form of CC to try and stop a teleport, and it's a Trundle pillar. And then they even use that at the beginning when they're trying to chase Pal Fox. When I saw that play, I was like, whoa. I feel pretty confident. Even though the game was like pretty close between that.
I felt like Fudge saved us in this game, to be honest.
Yeah.
Oh, Fudge had a crazy... His Zhonya's value this game was so insane. Like, even from his first Seekers, because I think... For most of the game, Fudge had like a 1,000 gold downing on him, and so many fights he was just avoiding like infinite damage. He'd get like Varus ulted, Rumble ult dropped on his head, and he just Zhonya's it. Insanely good Aurora game from Fudge. He also went for like more of the full one-shot build, which I think Riot is trying to push Aurora more toward with the latest changes, on her passive numbers.
Shadow Flame Death Cap.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely a sick game from Fudge. Did you notice this game Pal Fox rushed Hexdrinker and then he sold it like really early? That was crazy to me because I don't know. That was a bit odd because I don't think Hexdrinker's great. It's kind of like you buy it if you absolutely have to.
Selling is pretty inefficient though.
Yeah, I mean he went Hexdrinker into Bork and then he started making a shield bow and then I think. Maybe it was planned, or maybe he was just like, oh, wait, I already have a lifeline item. I can't get shield bow and Hexdrinker. So then he just sold his Hexdrinker to finish shield bow. When I saw it, I was like, is that actually the best thing you could be doing? Like, that looks really
not.
Sketchy. Yeah.
Kaze, I don't know if you guys watched Pros, but he was on Pros. It was him, Boal, and APA. But he was saying he felt like after game 1, like when they gave him like this melee matchup, he was like, oh, I don't think they like know who I am, basically, like because he was like super confident in his melee matchups, and he's saying like that's what he's known for. So he felt basically like Shopify hadn't scouted him.
And he also said that he felt like very confident in his lane phase now, and he was like, yeah, he was really nice about it, but he was like, after playing against him, I felt very, very confident. Yeah. He kept on saying, like, I'm not underestimating him, but I'm very confident.
Shopify did ban his Silas every single game, so they at least had some idea of what he was going to do, but maybe not enough of an idea of what he was going to do.
Yeah, I mean, he played super, super well. Game 1, I felt like we were going to lose game 1 for a lot of that game, to be honest. And yeah, I felt like Fudge. I thought that game swung a lot on. There was that mid lane play where Red Canids kind of like overdove mid lane, and Fudge and I think it was Fudge and Seos were like last two alive, and they tried to like dive and finish them off after like a really scrappy fight, and like basically everyone died except I think 9 people died. Doom was the only one who didn't die, and he was still hitting Herald or Grubs, one of those, I can't remember.
Yep.
But every other player died, and Fudge was kind of popping off with the resets, like kept going invis over and over. I felt like he saved us in game 1.
I felt like it was the macro play that gave us Baron, where they sent the jungle and top down there, because even with Fudge playing so well, I was like, well, this game is really, really close. But as soon as they make a macro mistake to give up Baron, that's why I say that game actually made me feel pretty confident for the series. But then those mistakes did not continue from Red. Yep. I felt like Red, after the first game, they really locked in, and then they consistently got these solo lane advantages.
I mean, game 2 we got slapped.
Yeah, I mean, it just felt like every game after that, I felt like Shopify were on the back foot.
Game 1 was so bloody. The first blood was at 8 minutes, and then it ended up being like a 46 kill game or something in like 30-something minutes. So it was just chain killing. It was awesome. Like I wish more pro games looked like that, because like you said, there was that mid play where I think before Red dove the tier 1 mid, like they'd kind of just definitively won the fight, but they just decided, no, we're not okay with that. And they just dove the turret for fun to get like 1 more kill and lose 2 more people. And I'm like, okay, I don't think it was a good play, but I like it. As a viewer, I want more of that. Like, I want people to just die for the sake of dying, because who doesn't like a bloody game, right? It's like, it's got to look like solo queue. And then, yeah, like you said, game 2, Red was kind of keeping the same pace, getting like a kill per minute, but Shopify wasn't. They were they were on their
they ran out of gas.
They had a lot of deaths, but not a lot of kills. That one was crazy though. That Yorick was
monster.
He was built diff. I don't know how that happened exactly. Wait, Azale, you play York. Is it? I know he had approach velocity. Is that the normal on York? Does everyone do that, or is that
people usually do that versus range champions?
Okay,
I think that's like pretty common. People can do versus range champions. They'll do like biscuits and approach velocity sometimes. Sometimes people do greedier builds where they'll go like sorcery secondary and stuff. But I think it's pretty normal, and it can be really, really strong for sure. Because anytime you hit your E, you're going to be able
you're flying at him, because there's already like there's kind of like a built-in approach velocity with his E, but then when you add it on top, because there was the one that kind of looked like Seos was inting, or like maybe a little bit of a sleeper agent, where he like died to FMB bot lane. I think he was trying to ward Tribush or something, and then just got caught out. But that Yorick was so fast. There's no way. Like, I don't think he expected to die there. I didn't think he would die there. But yeah, Yorick was just sprinting him down and took him out. And so when I saw it, I was like, wow, like, that was a really, really fast Yorick. I don't normally see him running like that.
And he was just winning from late. Like, he was winning the whole game. Straight from lane phase, he was winning in 1v1. He had full control. And then in the lane swaps, and then when people are ganking, and it just felt like, he was winning the whole game from literally like when they logged in. I feel like
Yorick can smack Ambessa, honestly. As long as you can hit your E's, you can win that matchup pretty heavily. And Yorick scales really well on a side lane, but the problem with Yorick is always, if you are not playing from a lead, you can become useless really, really fast, because it's like you take a trade where you hit your E, but you're weaker than them, and you realize, oh, I have to run. Now all of a sudden your maiden's just standing there and dies, and then you're useless. You lose all your pressure. Like, it can really snowball one way or the other. But I felt like as soon as you see a 1v2 from a Yorick in a side lane, unless the rest of your team is literally trolling, the game is almost unlosable. Like, when you get to that point where it's like no one can match you 1v1, you're gonna take every tower if they don't send an extra person, and if they do, you're still gonna kill one. Then your team just has to do anything on the other side of the map, and you're pretty much locked for a win. So I felt like FMB monstered that game. Then we went into the next game, and this one, I really did not like the way that they're kind of like the draft worked out here for Shopify in game 3. This was the blind Seraphine bot, and our answer was this Karma, which I just didn't really get, because I didn't even feel like it was gonna be able to actually like slam the 2v2 or anything like that. And they ended up having Bvoy lose both his sums and having to base at level 1 without a CS. I believe that was that game. And then it's like, in my mind, when I saw Ashe Seraphine, I just thought, why are we not playing like Nautilus and just like hard camping bot the whole game? to me. Like just like play some sort of hard engage and really pound it. Because I feel like if you're gonna go like 5th pick, counter pick for support on bot, and you're gonna go range support, like you must slam the 2v2 for that to have value, right? And it just did not work. That was obviously not the only thing that was going wrong, because top lane, Fudge was getting smacked in the 1v1 by F&B again. This game, Palafox couldn't find any purchase whatsoever. I felt like Kaze and Doom did a really good job, but B-Boy was kind of like, it felt like our only hope. He was like quietly having a good game in this Sivir game, quietly having a good game in game 2 on the Jhin, but the rest of the map seemed so cooked that it didn't feel like they were really going to be able to get anything. And yeah, I just didn't like the draft.
Yeah, I think they panicked when they saw the Seraphine lock-in, because they're thinking, oh, well, we're just kind of screwed then, because even if they have, if they pick Nautilus and then have contracts, camp on bottom side, if Doom also matches, then like Ashe Seraphine, is going to get a ton of value. Then it's on jungles to track each other and match each other. But I think that's why they kind of panicked. But then it also kind of screws over their comp for later, because if you don't have that Nautilus for your engage, they really struggled later. And this game 3 was the progression in the series where I was really like, oh, they are going to lose this series now. Like Shopify are going to lose this series now after game 3, because game 1, was close. And then I was like, oh, Red made what I felt like was a pretty big blunder. And then game 2, I was like, oh, I was worried, but I was kind of like chalking it up. Maybe it's just York type of thing. Game number 3 really brought me down to earth, because like, wow, that is a really smart draft from Red. And they played it super well too. Mm-hmm. They were so controlled in this game. They just kept on moving up on Sejuani and Ashe timers. And Rebello was really good with his Ashe arrows. They were constantly getting picks. They were cycling their engages. And it just, I felt like Shopify were trying to like, scale or something, but they just kept like waiting and never had the tools or took the opportunity to make their way into the game. And so like their gold graph was pretty steady and up to the side of Red here. And I felt like that this game really did reflect some good like thought and control on their side, in addition to just the playing well in lanes from the very beginning.
Yeah, definitely. I like seeing this Ashe Seraphine combo, because Ashe got buffed this last patch, and this was something that I think the last time we saw it was like Furia playing it in first stand, and it was something that they pulled out, and it just, to me, it seems like a really strong bot lane combo. And I guess theoretically, it's punishable, but I haven't really seen it get hard punished. I definitely didn't like the like Karma pick. I feel like you would pick something like Seraphine into Karma, where, like Karma is a lane bully. She's really good against things that don't have sustain or, the ability to fight back properly. But Ashe Seraphine, I don't know. It seems like a lane that just stat checks you, because I was, coasting with Doublelift, and he really likes this lane too. And I was asking, like, why don't you just pick something like Blitzcrank into it? And he said even like hard engage supports aren't that good into this lane, because they're not trying to like poke you down or like out sustain you. They just kind of like stat check you and win the all in. So maybe Nautilus with like a jungle camp could have worked better, but I just, it seemed like a strong lane to me. And
the 2v2 is super hard. I think that you basically need to get jungle involved, unless you're going to cook some like really crazy support to try to win, right?
Yeah, but I mean, like picking Karma knowing you're going to lose lane it seems like one of the worst things you can do.
Yeah. Well, that's why I was saying I hated the draft. Like that's your 5th pick on red side. You're going red side, and that's your 5th pick is Karma.
I think they panicked when they saw the strong Ashe Seraphine lane.
Yeah, and so I would definitely like to see more of this Ashe Seraphine combo, because it seems so annoying.
The Seraphine interaction as well with the Ashe passive.
Yeah, you just instantly get a root, and if you shoot the double E, you get the stun. And all of these team fights too, because this was actually one where, a lot of the time you want to balance your team comp out so that the other team doesn't get like too much merc trade value, right? Yep. But even with Shopify having merc trades on everyone, they had like cleanse on Sivir, they had a Mikhail's rush. They couldn't move. Every single fight, Poppy would walk up, and maybe it's just because they were so behind, but like, I don't know. This did not look balanced. They were just like shoot them with an Ashe ult into like a Seraphine stun, Sejuani ult, Talia flip them back, and they were just dying through full CC chains. And part of that I was thinking was like, okay, some time ago they removed like Legend Tenacity and Unflinching and like all those like really, really crazy tenacity stacking options. And so even with merch reds, it's like maybe not enough. You just have so much CC like this.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know. That did not look fun at all to play against.
I felt like the Talia is what really brought the whole comp together, and Kaze played super well. And because like even with when they had Merc Treads, he was close enough for when if Sejuani or Asher landed, then he would always like seismic shove you back in. And then like you're saying, yeah, you have tenacity, but it's the rock stun and all of these other like 7,000 stuns. Literally everybody on that team can stun you. And so when they got the first pick and then they would seismic shove and like create the distance, I feel like they got their kill on whichever person stepped up at that point. And it was one of those games where I was like, wow, yeah, Shopify just felt like they were losing the entire time.
Yeah.
And yeah, Red definitely deserved it. They were.
Yeah,
And they
felt that way, and it was also correct. Game 4 was one of the craziest individual performances I've seen in a game in a long time, though. B-Boy set the all-time record for DPM in a game. It was 1858 or something like that, 1850 something. I can't remember the final number. And it's crazy. He did almost 43% of the team's damage with the Ziggs on his team, who did a lot of damage.
Yeah.
So this one was, even with that, it still felt hard to win. And them having the Pike, and I know a lot of the South community was like, not happy with their draft in this one.
Okay, I think Red's bot lane trolled so hard with their picks, specifically the Pike. Because when I was watching this draft, I thought Shopify was kind of headshot. Because, B-Boy went absolutely insane on Ezreal this game and somehow made him look
tank damage, yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking, I'm like, okay, you have Skarner, Cho'Gath, and you're up against an Ezreal Ziggs. The whole time for Shopify, I'm like, pick something that does percent damage. Like, they locked in early Cho'Gath, Skarner. I think their first 3 was their top side. Cho'Gath, Skarner, Victor. It's like low damage, very beefy team. So I'm like, okay, pick some tank killing champs. Anything, like Brand Jungle, screw it. Like just someone who does percent damage. They didn't really do that. But they somehow made it work. And I don't know. I think Red's bot lane was so unbelievably useless this game. I don't know about Zeri as a champ. Sometimes she looks okay. Sometimes she looks completely useless. But the Pike here, when I saw that, I was like, dude, what? These guys are just trying to have fun at this point. And in game, oh my lord. Their bot lane was just getting gapped so hard. It was really the B-Boy show. Maybe they haven't seen an Ezreal like that. But
I don't think a lot of people have seen Ezreal like that.
Yeah, that was really an
was
absolutely insane performance.
And it was just straight from the early levels of lane phase. You could tell he was playing with confidence because even in the first like level 2 and level 3 trades, he was moving up into the Pike's face when he would be drawing back Bone Skewer, and he would confidently arcane shift it every single time and arcane shift it forward, knowing he can then chase the Pike afterwards too. And it was just like, he was not only in Frosty's head about like as far as the engages were going, but he was like stomping too. So yeah, he was playing so incredibly confident on the Ezreal from lane phase. And then when they also, focus on that lane and started getting him ahead, he absolutely, carried this game and won it for them. And that's multiple times where B-Boy has done this. So that's why I, in the AD carry, voting and stuff, I would, I felt justified. I had voted before this game, of course. But
the problem is,
did you feel
the
justified in game 5?
I was going to say, you might have to rescind that vote after game 5 because like, oh my God, B-Boy used all of his power in game 4. He had nothing left.
Yeah,
I really wonder, like,
that was so reportable.
If they knew that, so this is Yunara on the patch where it had been nerfed, but then there was a hotfix buff. The hotfix buff wasn't on Tournament Realm.
Yeah, I literally groaned when they locked it in on Champ Select. I was literally groaning and be like, no, it's so nerfed.
This was the like 44% win rate Yunara or whatever it was. It was like lowest win rate champion in the game before the hotfix buff. And I really wondered, did they know that this was pre-hotfix buff? Because it was so Omega nerfed and the early lane is so trash. And they just couldn't do anything in the 2v2. I mean, this game was over so fast that watching it was super depressing.
Dude,
it was like everything went horrible. I don't know.
Like Leona was not laning. At level 2, she went mid. Like Palafox was actually kind of stomping lane which, I think Casio, it is a pretty good matchup into Ari, but Leona comes mid, sits on a ward, Palafox has to back up, lose pressure, then he recalls, comes mid from top side, puts down a pink, and then just sits there for a solid minute. And if I was Palafox, I would be so tilted. They actually did a really good job avoiding the deaths early, but it just wasn't enough, because then if I'm mid lane and I'm getting camped by the enemy support and I'm panning top, watching my bot lane lose 2v1 to the MF, it's all right, let's just open, because
every lane lost.
There has to be a cost to Leona not laning, right? Your AD carry should be losing out, but he's not only losing out, he's winning. And the Yunara was so unbelievably useless the whole game. Yeah, this is just a fearless thing, right? It's I guess we just lose.
They could. There's so many pictures.
Jinx, Aphelios, Caitlyn.
Yeah, sorry. I don't mean they were forced into it, but I'm just saying, I think sometimes in Fearless, people end up with bad drafts just because, the constraints add, pressure to them, and they just kind of mess it up.
They also banned Smolder Senna when they could have just picked either of those on 4.
Yeah.
Which I thought was crazy.
Yeah.
I thought they were going to go Smolder, Senna, Jinx, one of those 3 was what I was thinking, something along those lines. So I was really surprised that they not only banned those 2, then picked the Yunara, which is worst champion in the game on that patch. It wasn't just about that, but Bvoy and Seos were the only lane that was consistently doing well the whole series. And then this one was a total disaster for them in the bot lane. I didn't like anything about this game. They just got clapped. Yeah. But you have to give so much credit to Red Canids. I think they played really, really well. Again, they were super proactive. You talked about Frosty moving everywhere. Doom and Kaze were everywhere as well.
Kaze is, I think Kaze
Ari and Nocturne, they were smurfing.
Kaze was my MVP this series.
Easily.
He looked so good. I don't know. Every single game, it's just all the plays he was making. Every time the camera was on him, he was just doing something good. So. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing him play more.
Super nice guy. You guys should check out Pros if you haven't watched it already. He was on there.
My favorite part about the series for Red is how much all these players they really appreciated it and it meant to them. Talking about Pros, Kaze on that talked about how much it really meant from for him to make this happen, because he's not Brazilian, he's Argentinian, and he had to go through tier 2 again to show that he deserves his spot in tier 1. And for Doom and for Rebello as well, getting promoted up from tier 2 to tier 1, on their minds a lot is proving that they deserve tier 1. And all these players, it does mean so much, taking down an LTA North team. And proving that the South players, there's lots of talent there too, and it just they really did, it meant a lot to them, and it's such a cool story for them with just this split, getting promoted up from tier 2 and finding all the success, and they added Talkers as coach as well, who is a longtime player, and he finds immediate success as well. So. While it felt really bad for Shopify, the other side of the story is how happy they were, to get their victory, and how much they're looking forward to playing 100 Thieves. And, a lot of the South players were saying ahead of time too, they're like, oh, well, 100 Thieves is like the Northern Red Canids team, with how, aggressive and how they play and how they focus a lot, on their mid lane and jungle. And so that also made me super excited for the next matchup, to see Kaze, versus Quid. Like you're talking about, Kaze was absolutely smurfing. He's looking really crazy. So it's going to be really fun to see him versus Quid.
They also had a very similar lower bracket run. They had that kind of thing going for them too. But yeah, it's just crazy for Kaze to a couple months ago have been in tier 2. In LTA South, and it's people had always considered LTA South to be much weaker than the North, right? And it's you're tier 2 there, you're not even tier 1, and then a couple months later you're winning the first best of 5 that this region has won against another region since, I want to say it was 2016 was what I had read. So it hadn't happened in forever, right? And to be, it's 3 of your players are in tier 2. A couple months later, you're doing something that your region hasn't done in a decade. Or I might be getting the year a little bit wrong, but it's that era. So pretty crazy. Really, really impressive series for them. Definitely very happy for them. Obviously sad for us. But we've got to get the second world slot.
Let's move on. Yeah,
we got to get the second world slot.
Looking forward to the series that we're gonna have this weekend. We're like, oh yeah. We get to see the number 1 seeds play. But yeah, the real pressure everyone's thinking about is 100 Thieves versus Red.
Yeah.
Because if 100 Thieves
loses,
then we'll be down to 1 slot. Like
that's so depressing.
Yeah.
I will actually cry. I will be in tears. I will for sure be crying. That
would be so depressing to go from 3 world slots to 1.
Thankfully, though, I feel so confident in how 100 Thieves have been playing. Red definitely look very good and very impressive. So I'm excited for the series. I feel
like 100 Thieves were less clean in the Pain series, though.
I don't know. Maybe I'm delusional, but I feel like so confident. I just feel like River
they did just 3-0 Shopify. They stomped Shopify, and this was a close series. When I was watching that series, I agree with you. When I was watching that series, I was thinking 100 Thieves should slap either team, whoever wins. Like, that's kind of what I was thinking, but I don't know, man. The more I think about it, the more nervous I get.
Yeah, 100 Thieves, their early games were not very clean, even against Pain. Like, they were kind of getting behind most of those. So
yeah,
I don't know.
I feel like they played a lot worse against Pain than they did against Shopify the previous weeks and stuff. So if you look at how Red played, if you put Red in some of the positions that Pain were in that series, I think that Red wins. So that's what made me really nervous when I was thinking about it. I'm like, oh crap, like that game 2, if Red is playing that, I think they win from there for sure. Like they just seemed like they were playing really well. So
yeah,
I'm really, really, really hoping, but oh my god,
I think Quid's gonna do a lot better than Palafox did.
River as well. Contracts did not have a good series.
Yeah, so I'm confident in Quid for sure. I think that even just watching, I think Kaze played really well, but watching Palafox, he was not having a good series at all. A lot of the mistakes he was making were kind of just
unforced.
Yeah, they were unforced errors. He was just doing some crazy stuff. So that's kind of the cope, I guess. It's Red Canids, they beat Shopify when they weren't playing well. It's whatever. It'll be fun, probably.
Should be a super exciting one. A lot is on the line. So yeah, everyone is going to be nervous coming in, but you gotta battle those dark thoughts, Azael.
I'm battling. I'm trying.
I feel really confident, really good. I just feel like, yeah, Quid River.
Quiver will save us.
Quiver has not let me down since last year Worlds.
Since they were the first team to ever get knocked out in play-ins in NA history. Since that catastrophic loss to an LLA team, which then lost to a CB1 team. Oh, they haven't let us down.
So
Yeah, I'm with you. The other thing that was making me nervous is that all the LTA South people were saying how they felt like Red was really not in good shape and played really poorly in that series and blah, blah, blah. And, and the Red people were saying, we didn't have much time to practice because Kaze had some visa issues prior to coming. So he said he didn't have a lot of time to prepare and stuff. So I was like, oh, crap. What if they're going to play better? But no, I still do feel confident. Like I said, when I was watching that series and I was trying to be logical about it, I felt like 100 Thieves, when it was 2-2, I was like, I think 100 Thieves would smack either of these teams. Is kind of how I felt. Of course, there is still that scary feeling of what if 100 Thieves just plays bad? Then they could definitely lose, right? But that's always going to be the reality. These teams have gotten a lot better. I think LTA South has improved a lot, and they deserve the credit for that. When you look from Split 1, we 8-1 them, and it didn't look like any of their teams were competitive. To MSI, them going almost Furia, almost beating G2 in a best of 5. And then here, they get a win against Shopify. Yeah, it's not our number 1 team. It's their number 3 team, but still deserving of a lot of credit for that. But hoping.
What if Quid picks Lee Sin mid?
He might if it's game 4 or game 5. He did Viego mid. He did Lee Sin mid.
That's I think that's the thing I'm most scared about. I guess with any team, but some teams just have this tendency to pick some really, really sketchy stuff in draft, and that kind of horrifies me. I'm like, I get it's Fearless. You gotta you want to catch the other team off guard, but please,
you don't
play
want the game 5 world.
Please
slot
play
on
something
the
that
line,
makes
Lee
sense.
Sin mid.
It's if you won a scrim with this pick because the other team didn't know what your champion did and you got 20 kills, that's not an indicator that you should be playing that on stage. That's not gonna happen. let's be reasonable here, guys. So I'm just hoping we don't see any like scrim picks come out like Viego release in mid, because like that stuff is not good. Like, it's not good.
Don't over focus on the melees.
Melees are fine. Like Galio, Silas, Akali, Yone, you know, there are melee champs you can play, but junglers, mid lane, I don't know about that. I think maybe leave them in the jungle.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, you could pick apart some of those games too, because like and there's a lot of points where he plays individually well, but you always have to think, how are we incorporating this, and how does it change how our team plays later?
And I mean, the level 1 for the Lee Sin game, like,
he doesn't have
was
flash.
so cooked. He lost flash and had to TP to lane at level 1 when he got invaded on. I'm not saying
no. He did not get invaded on. He walked into 3 people in the enemy tri-bush and tried to 1v3 them as Lee with E-start. And so when I see that, I'm just like, dude, you're not trying to win. That was such a criminal thing to do. Like, what was that? So just don't pick it.
Would it make
play something you're good at?
Would it make you feel better if he would do that on any other champion also? So maybe it wasn't a
No, that made me feel really bad.
What if Kaze picks Lee Sin mid? Is he then allowed to play Viego mid?
No, you play something normal and
you just play something normal and just win for free.
Accept your world spot, dude.
No deal.
Okay.
Just get some worlds.
Well, that one is actually going to be Sunday, even though we talked about it first, because the world slot is definitely weighing on my mind. Let's put it that way. Yeah. Saturday is going to be Fly versus Vivo Keyd Stars. We get to see the debut of the Brazilian #1 seed here in the North, so that should be fun. Of course, even Boal and all the LTA South people are like, we feel like we're getting closer to the North, but not FlyQuest though. But not FlyQuest though.
But FlyQuest with Gakkos.
Exactly. FlyQuest with Gakkos
is
the real question. They looked a lot worse. Both games they play with them, they're 1-1, but both games Gakkos did not look good. I don't think that is, like Gakkos is trash or anything like that. He's a very young player and he's had basically no stage games with the team, right? So I think it's fair to have some tough opening games and like not, just being roasted for that or anything along those lines. But of course, it does make me nervous on how they will perform on stage with him in a very important series here. I still feel like the rest of the team is so solid and should be, pretty heavily favored.
I'm a little worried. I'm most worried, even though there is the Gakkos sub situation. I'm actually most worried for mid lane because Quad has had some games this split that really were just straight up not good for lane phase.
Yeah.
And Mieru, everybody, I talked to some of the English co-streamers, official co-streamer casters as well. And they were really hype on Mieru as well, best mid laner. And he has been performing extremely, extremely well. So I could see, some problems pop up there. RMC, the caster I was talking to, was also talking about how their jungle support, they have Trimby and they talked about Trimby doing a lot of shot calling. How they're good with, moving around the map and macro. So I think that'll be a cool matchup with Inspired and Busio, because obviously we have supreme confidence in Inspired and Busio as just being, the very best at their positions.
I think they're the best in the West in both their roles.
Yeah, so I do feel that makes me feel really confident in FlyQuest.
Nice
but
and cozy. In their strong arms.
Yeah, after seeing, how big of a solo lane difference in the Shopify series, how that can manifest.
Quad is not Palafox.
For sure.
Quad gap Palafox too.
For sure. But just bringing up the points there. Mieru is good.
He is really good. I'm not sure if it's Mireu, because I remember being told that you had to.
We had to do it both ways.
And then I've also been told that it's Miru. So I don't really even know.
Should we just go Mieru? Because that's more straightforward.
I was told that it's Vivo Keyd Stars, but then when I talked to all the LTA South players, even the ones that are on the team, they all call it Keyd.
And then there's also the Titan versus Chiton.
Versus Teton.
So part of it, I think, is that then people who speak both English and Portuguese then they
anglicize it for us?
Yeah, they convert it to what they think is easier for us.
Kobe and Azale
maybe
can't
we
say
should
this.
do that. But then
I'll take it. I'll take the anglicized.
Yeah, so
version.
should we just say like the whitest version?
Titan and Miru.
Titan? There you go.
Who knows? But
Yeah. So okay, for this episode though, we'll say Miru.
Sure. Yeah. So he was on the other thing I think a lot of people are forgetting is it's like there's been a lot of up and down in the LTA South, right?
Yeah.
Isris won Split 1, but then at the start of their Split 2 in their like positioning phase or whatever it was called, like basically their little regular season thing, they were literally 8th out of 8th. And then after being first place.
Yeah.
So bizarre. And then they ended up finishing like 5-6 or something in playoffs. And then we have Split 2. And Furia is the top dog. Then they don't even get to the top 3 in Split 3, right? Like there's been all this up and down.
Yeah, their downfall is crazy.
But Miru was on Isris when they were first, then leaves the team, joins Vivo Keyd, and now they're first in third split. So it's like he is actually the guy in the South that has done the best of any player in the South as far as results, right? Because he was on 2 different teams and both of them got first, across the 3 splits. So I think that is pretty cool and worth mentioning. And yeah, he's a really talented, aggressive player, right? Like he can play those melee champs. He likes to play that style, and I think he's excellent at it. So I definitely think we cannot be overlooking him by any means. I feel like he is the clear star on the team to me. I think their bot lane is definitely solid. I think that they have strong players, but to me, the star of the show is Miru. It's about this mid lane, and so I agree. That is where eyes have to be, and we have to think, hopefully Quad has a good series. I think that Quad did look better in the best of 5 stage than he did earlier in Split 3, because I agree he definitely wasn't as strong. And I think just this year in general, he wasn't as strong as last year. I don't really know why that is, but I do think he kind of took a step back. But that being said, Cassio just got buffed. Like, that helps. And I do think one of the other things that was interesting was going into the Shopify series. I think I was interviewing Fudge, I want to say, but I might be misquoting. But it was one of the Shopify people I was interviewing or talking to, and they were kind of saying that basically they felt like the weakness on Shopify was Quad, because when he's having a bad game, like, they don't help him and they don't play around him kind of thing. And then in that series, I remember he was getting a lot of help and a lot of attention from his team. And so I felt that was kind of interesting that the team had maybe kind of identified the same thing that other teams had and kind of made that adjustment. So I do have faith that it's like, hey, even if, Miru is looking strong, as long as you don't have a shocking series, you've got Busio and Inspired on your team. Like, they can help you out. You know what I mean? They can paper over a lot of issues. And hopefully there's not going to be a lot of those there. Because, of course, Gatkos is also going to be a question mark, and he may need some help too. So I think it's definitely going to be much more of a question than I expected, because I have, I just don't know how Gatkos is going to perform in a best of 5. It's like he's played 2 games total. Now he has to play the whole best of 5. He's going to know that. And it's a really big opportunity for him. I mean, if he comes in and he plays great and they just smack him, then it's like, hey, you're really arguing that you should get more time on the team. You should get more of a slot. But also, likewise, if you come in and your team gets smacked and you look horrible, then everyone's just going to be talking about, well, it's just because of Gatkos, right? It's just because of this guy. And I feel like that is going to set him back in his career, because he will get much less playing time versus Bwipo if he has a really bad series.
Yeah, definitely. I think it might even be less pressure on him this time, though. So I feel like it might be a better situation for Gatkos, because, I mean, first of all, it's not an elimination match. You're already in Worlds. But then also at the same time, it's not like every other time Gatkos has played, they've just been putting him in games where, like, they can afford to lose and just being like, do your best, let's see what happens kind of deal. And then Whipple will come in if there's trouble. But now it's more like, okay, we can't use Bwipo. You're in no matter what. And it's not because, like, you necessarily, I don't want to say like he doesn't deserve to be in or whatever, but like it's not because he's better than Bwipo. It's just because like Bwipo did some crazy shit and he can't play. So it's like, they have to use Gatkos. So it's more like a necessary thing. So I think there might be less pressure on him because he's not trying to prove, like, because that's the thing that happens with, like I've talked about it before, but like when there's the academy system versus the main team, it's like when the tier 2 player is in, they, try too hard sometimes to like impress or whatnot, where now it's like, just do your job. So I think it'll be a good test for him.
Hopefully he looks at it as an I get to play instead of an I have to play. I feel like I feel like he will have a good mindset about it too. Whenever I see him and talk to him in here when he's in the studio, and he comes in as sub, he always seems like, very good mental, like good attitude and stuff. So I think he's got a good head on his shoulders, and he's hungry. And all right, do we say Boal?
Boal is what he. I asked him.
We'll check on every day.
Boal.
Boal was talking about scrimming versus him in the past, and playing versus him, and having some respect there as well. I was gonna say one of the biggest things that people haven't talked about too much is that all of these South players watch FlyQuest a lot, and they have watched a lot of tape of FlyQuest.
Yeah,
I would be willing to bet almost anything that the FlyQuest players have only just now started watching. Keyd, Keyd games, Keyd, whatever we're gonna. I guess we'll go Keyd until we get told to do differently. So they talked about really looking up to these FlyQuest players, and especially Inspired. And they were like, even including South players, talking about the most valuable player of the year award.
Yeah, the Kia Player of the Year.
They were like, yeah, we would vote for Inspired as well. So there is, they both have a ton of respect for FlyQuest, but that also means they've watched a lot of your tape, And so when you're like the team at the top and everyone's like watching you, studying you, how do we defeat you? That might be another.
You're in everyone's crosshairs for sure. I mean, that is the team that everyone's studying. I mean, like you're referencing the thing on pros, but they also said that it's like, this is the team. They're like, they basically said they're like the kings of North America. So it's like, that is the team that you're going to study. Obviously they're also watching, Genji and whoever. But this is the best team in the West, and the LTA South players know that. That is the team that everyone is trying to learn from. In some ways, people feel like, oh, if FlyQuest can do it, then we can do it. More so than like if Genji can do it, we can do it, right? So people kind of feel like, oh, this is the team we need to be learning from, because they have shown that they can compete with a Genji, even though they don't have Korean solo queue, even though they don't have, this like massive, pool of players, like the LPL does, that they can pull from, and so on and so forth. So I think people are kind of trying to learn from them. And I agree. It does mean that FlyQuest is going to know way less about Vivo Keyd than they are about FlyQuest. They're going to have watched way more games. So it's going to be interesting. All this being said, even with the question marks about Gatgos, I mean, if it was Bwipo, I would feel confident it's a 3-0 no matter what. With Gatgos, I could see them losing games, but I definitely think we're going to win the series, and I still feel like overall at the end of the day, I expect 100 Thieves to be able to take down Red Canids as well.
Get that fear out of your eyes, buddy.
I still got some fear.
Yeah, I mean,
fingers crossed.
I think it's interesting looking, because with FlyQuest, to me, they feel like, the most complete team that we've had. And I mean, I don't even think it's much of an opinion. They just kind of are.
Yep.
And when we talked to Inspired a while back, he said they kind of modeled themselves after Genji, just trying to be efficient. So I don't know if they're necessarily a team that you can watch games of and be like, okay, like here are their weaknesses, here how so we can exploit them or whatever. Because I think they just kind of...
They're really solid.
Yeah, they're solid. I think the only times to me that I've really seen like cracks in their play is on like, I think certain players and certain champions don't go that well for them. And like the two that come to mind would be like Inspired Xin Zhao, even though like he's won almost all of his Xin Zhao games, he dies a lot on that champion, which is rare for him, right? It's like, his standards are really high. So that's something. And then I think quads to Leah, which that actually was their one loss to 100 Thieves when they played earlier, was those two champs. But I had kind of been feeling that way even before then. So I think like maybe you can, get a win or two against them if you draft really well and maybe put them on things they're less comfortable on, something like that. But I think most of the time this team's just super, super solid.
Yep.
And I don't know where I would attack them if I was trying to play against them. I think you just have to like.
I mean, I would be thinking about top lane for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Gatgos definitely
try to put a ton of pressure on a 17-year-old player who's like, this is the first time he's going to be starting a series in his career in Tier 1, right? To me, that's like, that would be the game plan 100%. And especially when you look at, like, in the game that they won, he got solo killed at least once. And then the game they lost, he got caught a number of times and kind of, was punishable. So I feel like I would be trying to pile pressure onto this guy who has 2 games total of tier 1 experience and is a 17-year-old. So I feel like that is the obvious game plan. Whether or not they will go for that remains to be seen, but that's how I would be thinking about it. I would be thinking about try to get this guy into a really uncomfortable position, try to make him nervous, throw bans at him, and try to get, Boal in really good matchups, and have Disamis, I'm not actually sure exactly how you say that, up there and trying to punish him.
Every player in their org is just trying to be hard for you to pronounce.
But it should be a really fun weekend. I will say, as sad as I am that one of our teams dropped, Red Canids were super deserving. They straight up outplayed them. It's a best of 5, so there's no excuses. You had all the opportunities to beat them, and they were the better team. So congratulations to them. And it does make this final weekend, I think, a lot more exciting. Obviously, final weekend before you guys go to Texas. So should be a lot of fun. I'm excited for it. So thank you everyone for watching this episode of The Dive driven by Kia. I hope you enjoyed the awards that did get presented here, the Kia All Pro teams as well as Kia Rookie of the Year. Pretty hype. And that is going to wrap it up for us here on The Dive driven by Kia. Remember, if you're watching us on YouTube, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss an episode of The Dive. You can also check us out on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. The LTA Playoffs return this Saturday, September 20th at 1 p.m. Pacific. FlyQuest is going to be taking on the Vivo Keyd Stars. We will see you there.